So intimidating every time it says that. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I included in the chat box the link to our agenda. Sorry I didn't send it out earlier, but please feel free to open it up. It has the links to the presentations, but we'll also have it up on our screen as well. So follow along however is easiest for you. So today, I'm excited to talk about YouScience. I know many of you are still kind of grasping what it is, the purpose, how to use it, and we have actually someone who's been using it for a few years now. So we thought it would be the best time to really go over how to even implement it, because it's such a big tool. So we'll have Don Taba, our wonderful counselor from Kauai High School. And the second part of our presentation, we will have Shara. I'm trying to look at my screen. If Shara, hi there, wave your hand. Hi, Shara, from Waimea High School. So Shara is actually also involved in a very similar role as many of you on the Next Steps to Your Future program. She is actually running a 11th and 12th month summer program. Well, basically working with incoming seniors and transitioning out. Dedicated specifically at Waimea High School. So she's working with Vince on a lot of great strategies. She's done a lot of work within her school. So we're very excited to have her share some of those resources and just models of what she was able to do to engage more families at her school. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Oh, sorry, Dana, thanks for catching that. I realized that some folks that might have jumped on before I added this chat box. Again, I just added in the chat box now the link to the agenda, which is providing the links to the presentations that we'll be going over today. All right, so let's get started. We're gonna have Dawn Taba first. You can introduce yourself. Hi, Dawn.
Hello. Okay, so I'm Dawn Taba, and so I think a lot of you know that I'm not a counselor during the regular school year. I am the early college coordinator, academy director, kind of the catch-all. Here's a new thing, please do this. And so my role kind of, it changes and it flows, and so when new things like YouScience come up, it gets kind of thrown onto my plate and our curriculum coordinator's plate, and like, hey, take a look at this, see if you want to use it. And so when we first heard about YouScience, let me start sharing my screen too. Okay, so I can't see you guys anymore, but I'm just gonna talk. We first heard about YouScience back in like 2018. State CTE people like Bernadette had said we had this opportunity, and I don't know if it was statewide, I don't know if it was just for Kauai schools, but she told us, hey, you guys have this chance, take a look at this and see what you want to do with YouScience. And so I mean, like at first glance, like if you check out their website, you hear a little bit from them and you're like, wow, that's kind of a lot for high school students to do. But I think the more that we actually looked into this program, we realized that it was very different from anything that we had been doing for students in helping them to identify their interests or whatever it is that they wanted to pursue after high school. And so we realized that this is a great opportunity for us to try something new and that could be innovative and maybe help students realize a little bit more about themselves and their potential. And so kind of made a plan. And then, so today I'm going to just give you a little bit of an overview about YouScience for people who are not familiar with it, and then what we did with our teachers, and then how we moved through using it with the class of 2023 last year, and the class of 2021, so our freshmen and our juniors this past school year, and then what we plan to do moving forward. So just real quickly, YouScience, I know Lindsay had mentioned that there might be some people who are on the call who haven't heard about it. So YouScience, basically, it measures students' aptitudes and then ties them in with their interests. So there are 11 aptitude tests, and they've been described as like playing brain games. Each exercise, all 11 of those takes about 8 minutes, and then students receive personal results that they can access for 10 years. Part of this, there's also an interest inventory that takes about 5 minutes for students, so which is their typical, like what they're used to seeing, you know, like, do you like doing this? Do you like doing that? Which one would you pick? And then it crosswalks their aptitudes and their interests. And so students are given a report at the end that shows them what their best fit careers could be. It shows them what they're good at based on these aptitudes. And one of the things that we were told when we got onto some calls with the YouScience people and started talking more with other people who have used it is that aptitudes align talent with high demand jobs, and interests steer students away from the economy. We are moving towards being an academy school, like we're following the academy model. All 3 high schools on Kauai are trying to implement this academy model within our communities and within our schools to see, and just to make it work best for us and our students and what we have, the options we have available here on our island. And so our plan is just, and our goal has been to identify the right students for the right programs and improve student outcomes. In shifting to an academy model, we're trying to help our students find what it is that they're good at, and to be able to explore more of those different programs that they may not have just based on what they'd say their interests were. So like I said, when we first heard about it, the state CTE funds paid for the licenses for our school. And so we're like, hey, great, this is free, we're gonna use it. I'm not sure what's gonna happen moving forward with that. We're hoping that state CTE funds still pay for it, but I know it's something that we found to be worthy enough to want to put money from our weighted student formula into paying for these licenses, because it's something that's helped our students so much. So the number one recommendation that came from YouScience when we first heard about it was to have our teachers do the tests. And I think that's key in helping people to understand what it is this is all about and what it could tell them. So our initial plan started with just working with our teachers and giving our teachers access codes, allowing them to use time from the 21 hours that principals are allotted for extra time for teachers to have meetings or whatever. And because we wanted them to experience a test themselves, we wanted them to see what students would be doing and see how it was different from what we've asked of students before. We also wanted teachers to be able to see their own reports and think about how they could use information from that report to how they would use it with students. I know, like, when you're first hearing like that, this could take, 90 minutes for high school students to do, and you're like, I don't know if a high school student's gonna sit there for that long and just do these tests over and over, like, one after another. But once our teachers all got on board and they did it, and they had the opportunity to share it at a faculty meeting, what their results were, it was super interesting to hear, because there were some teachers who they came back and they were like, secondary teacher was like a pretty weak fit for me. And then they were able to like talk about but this is why they think that is, and everything. So I think it's made people analyze how what they're doing, like, like if they had some of this information ahead of time, would it have changed what they're doing? Would they have pursued something different? But I think having teachers be part of this and understand a little bit more about the program was like, it was one of probably what made it most successful at our school as we moved into working with the students. So the first thing class that we used was our freshman class last year. Each of our freshmen takes a transitions to high school class. It's called career and academic planning on their schedule. But in that class, it's meant to just introduce students to our school, get them ready to be a high school student. And our teacher for that class ties the YouScience results into a project that she does with them, which is their roadmap project. The roadmap helps them map out classes that they should take throughout high school. And as we move more into the academy model, I think this will change a little bit and it'll shift. But for now, students were able to take the YouScience tests and then take a look at their results and put it right into this project that they did. And we also tied it to the PTP, so the personal transition plan, and the half credit that is required for graduation. This was the beginning of it with the freshman class. And so what we did was YouScience actually has a whole bunch of information that you can use, like to introduce their program. Like there's a slideshow, there's all kinds of stuff that you can download and give to teachers to use. So we did. So we had to create like a whole slideshow with a script and all of that for our teachers to use. And so this is the same slideshow that we ended up using for our juniors later on. But we introduced the personal transition plan, so the PTP, to them. How this information that was going to be used would help them complete this half credit that was a graduation requirement. At our school, if students are not completed if their PTP is not completed by their senior year, it does affect their ability to participate in sports in the fall, if they want to become a teacher's aide, if they want to go on a modified schedule, all of that. We've been able to make it so that students actually get their PTP done because of all of that. So by their senior year, if it's not done, then they can't do some of those things. So these slides are part of the slideshow that we used for the freshmen and the juniors. And then starting with this slide, I think this one came directly from YouScience. So if you access the slideshow, the link that Lindsay has on our agenda, you can see that there are notes in the and it's labeled speaker text under each of the slides. So YouScience gives you like an actual script that you can use with the students. And, so for instance, when you show this slide, you could say, you're about to embark on an amazing journey of self-discovery. You'll learn about how you think, how you process information, and where you naturally excel. This is the first step on your path to answering these questions and more. Based on the science behind the YouScience profile, we believe this will help you make more informed decisions when it comes to future education and career-related choices. This could translate into a more time-efficient, cost-effective, and enjoyable journey through your post-high school years, as well as help you make better initial career choices. So all of these slides, they took the hard work out of it, because for some of our teachers who had to be the ones leading this initiative at our school, they were like, I need to know what to say. And so it gave us the speaker notes already. And it just, so these slides, like I was saying, came directly from the YouScience site. I think once your school has access to some, I don't even know what they are. They give you access to like a platform that you use, and you can download all of these different slides to use with your students, so that you don't have to come up with your own. So this talks about how it's 11 short 8 to 10 minute exercises. It gives you a little, try this with them, like a little activity with them, and it kind of explains what aptitudes are based on this little exercise. Reminds them that this isn't like a test like the ACT or the SAT. It's not something you can study for. It's just trying to do the best you can on whatever is given to you on there. And so, like I mentioned, we use it with our junior class as well. And we embedded it into the advisory time that we have, kind of like a homeroom for them. For the juniors, it was very self-directed. They had access to the slideshow. Our advisory time is a little bit weird. It's 2 times a week, and only one time during that week is it teacher instructional time? So we had to make it very easy for students to do on their own if they didn't have any guidance from a teacher who was not wanting to teach during that time. So again, they all went through the assessments and then they got the reports, and then we came up with a slideshow, a little bit of information about how to understand their YouScience results. This was a little bit more, I mean, we put it on some teachers to be like, you know, if you want students to really understand, you kind of have to go over it with them. But we also know that there's some teachers who didn't do that. So there are videos, again, like that YouScience offers that you can help them watch. So this is a video, if you click on it, once you have access to the slideshow, it's like a 6-minute video that talks about, this is what your report is. And then we had activities for students to do so that this could be counted, like we said, like towards their PTP. There was something that they needed to turn in. They had documents, like shared documents that they had to turn in based on the information that they were given on that report for students. So they looked at the terms that describe you and it helped them to create a resume in the end. We had them look at their work approach. And so there's a number of statements and they choose which ones they felt fit them the best. And then we had them look at their careers. I think once they got to the careers tab, this was super exciting for a lot of our students. They got to see what things that were an overall fit and had a lot of questions when it came to that, like, what is this? How do I figure out where I can go for this? Can I go to KCC for it? Can I go to UH? I think the career exploration was the most eye-opening for students because there were a lot of things that were listed that they had never thought about. And so again, they just recorded all of this, saved it on their worksheet. And then we also had them highlight their CTE pathway. So if they were part of a pathway already, like do they think that they fit into it? And if they didn't, then they were able to explore that a little bit with their teachers as well. One other thing that we used their YouScience results for was to write a personal statement, which was also part of our PTP. So again, just kind of had to create this template for them where they used information from their results to write this personal statement. They could expand on that statement as well. Like they didn't have to just use just those 3 sentences. And so, I mean, moving forward, like I said, this was a really brief overview of what we did. We want to make better use of the results that are given. And so like this summer, I had a couple of students that knew me and when they took the YouScience, they wanted to take YouScience because they were seniors this past year and hadn't had an opportunity to do that. So when they got their results, we went over, I went over with them the discussion guide. It's like the shorter document that they get, and kind of just had it, like, let them lead the conversation. I got a chance to talk to Rami a little bit last week about how I ran that, and just we opened up their document together, and then I just kind of asked them questions like, what do you think about this? Do you think that this fits you? Did the career that you're thinking about show up in this list? And I think one of my girls, like she wanted to be, her plan is to go into early childhood education. And it wasn't like a strong overall fit for her. And so we talked a little bit about, like, why do you think that is? What is it that do you still want to do that? Or is there something else that interests you? Or like, and if it wasn't a strong overall fit, like, why not? And so like I said, I allow the students to lead that conversation. I try not to put too much into it from like my own thinking, but just, like, what is it that do you think you need to work on then? If you still want to do this, even though it's not the strongest overall fit for you, what is it that you're going to need to work on a little bit more, work on a little harder? Which classes do you think you're going to need to take and really like they think about what it is that you need to do better in order to be successful at that. There's options that are on the YouScience website itself on how to use the results, and we just haven't had a chance to explain that, like to explore that. Not, considering how we might be going back to school, we're not 100% sure yet, but it could provide more opportunities for students to really explore those results, do a little self-analysis. We have a freshman career fair that we do with all 3 high schools. That happens like sometime in the first or second quarter, excuse me, where a lot of our local businesses they come together and talk a little bit about the careers that are available on our islands. And so we want to be able to use the YouScience results for more of these career exploration opportunities. If we can get those results, if we can make sure all of our freshmen have the results done by the time that we have this career fair happen, we're hoping that they are able to hear a little bit more and explore a little bit more about what it is that, specific to them. The more businesses that we can try and get involved in understand looking at YouScience too, I think it'll help connect students with what the opportunities that they receive on their results. I believe YouScience has a new feature that matches industry certifications with their aptitudes and with their with strong overall fits for students. For those of you who are academy schools or working with NCAC, industry certifications are huge. And so we're kind of exploring a little bit more about that and making sure that we're offering the right things to students. We are also looking at how we can use YouScience each school year. So if in the freshman year they do all of the aptitude tests, they shouldn't have to do it again. Like YouScience does not recommend them to redo the aptitudes, but the interest inventory can change from year to year. So we're just looking at what is it that we do every school year, or what is it that we have students analyze every school year, so that this isn't just a one-time thing in the freshman year or a one-time thing in the junior year, but making sure that they actually take a look at, how are their interests changing, and does that mean something different career-wise for them? And again, like I said, just tying it into the academies and how we can make sure students, once with their results, hopefully choose the right academy within our school. And so that's all I have. I listed here just the email addresses if you wanted to contact me about a little bit more, but if there were questions anyone had based on that. I know I just did a lot of talking, sorry. I don't like presentations like that, but sorry, I want to just get through it. But that's all. I know, Shara, you and Vince, you guys use YouScience at Waimea High School too. And Dave, I don't know if Dave Morales is on the call, Kapaa uses it too. It's super overwhelming at first because you're like, how are we going to find that time? But I think it just, once you see how, I mean, my recommendation would be, if you have access to those licenses already, and I want to say CTE has said, yeah, we're going to get access for all the high schools. Have your teachers do it, and be like, hey, we're going to use faculty meeting time for this, if your principal's okay with that. Or, or suggest to admin that they use that time, or they use 21 hours, or whatever it is that they do, so that teachers do it. And once they do it, they start to see oh yeah, I did mine and I was like, oh my gosh, that's totally me. And so it's kind of interesting. And some teachers, there were a couple, they were like, hey, teaching didn't come up on mine. I was like, oh, do you want to talk about that? We can come have a conversation about that. Because some of them who were teaching didn't come up as one of their highest fits. I was like, that's weird, really? But inside I was thinking, oh. Okay, let me see. Okay, we're just checking the chat box right now. We haven't. So I see Stacy, if the students don't really match with their chosen CTE pathway or coursework, what is the conversation that follows that? I don't know yet. And that's the hard part too, I think, with something like this, is that we haven't had that come up yet. And so if once that does, I mean, I don't know. Like we might have to, like I said, like with the students that I had that just graduated, who's where that career didn't match up with what was recommended for them. The conversation that we had was, that's okay, but what is it that you're going to have to work harder on? Like, why do you think you want to continue to pursue this? And so it could, like, I think the conversation could follow that same kind of line where, like, it's, you know, are you really interested in this CT pathway? Because if you are, then what is it that you're going to have to do? Or like, what is it that you recognize that maybe would make you, it seems like you're falling short in something or you know, or another. I don't know if that answers your question. I hope so. What kind of struggles? Oh, yes. So we do have students who, because they know that once they finish an assessment, they can take a break and then not go back to it. And so the push we just kept doing was, this is connected to your PTP, you need to finish, you're going to get a U. For our juniors, it was super easy because we're like, if you don't finish this for PTP, then come your senior year, you can't do this, this, and this. And they were like, okay. And then there were still some that pushed back and didn't want to do it. And I don't know. I mean, because of what happened fourth quarter, like, and we weren't in school, like, it's kind of a weird, they're probably all still going to get to do whatever they want to do at the beginning of the senior year. But we kept like kind of hanging that over their heads. If you don't do this, you don't get your PTP credit, can't be a TA, can't go modified. It might affect, you know, like you're going to be on academic review for sports in the fall. So that was helpful. And then for our freshmen, the teacher she kept pushing it. The teachers kept pushing it, and they were able to get, I want to say most of them, I don't know if there were any who didn't finish. Yeah, I don't think so.
Hey, Dawn.
Yes.
What we tried doing at Wyoming High School is we sent, they have that library, YouScience has a library of documents.
Yes.
And so we sent the parent letter home, and we did say it was a requirement, but we let them know that we explained it in a way that if you complete this, it allows us as counselors to create a more tailored advising session. And so we're hoping that it would lead to those spaces where, oh, if I want what's best for my child, then I'm going to encourage them as well as the student. So we kind of went both ways, just to kind of, because we're having a hard time. We're trying to figure out how we're going to get kids to do it. They see 2 hours and they get scared.
Right. Yeah. So we had our freshman teachers carved out time in their classes, which is hard, right? Like because it's a semester course, like transitions to high school is a semester course. And we were like, I know, but we got like, and so I think because of that though, they pushed kids a little bit harder, and they were like, get it done now. And then for our juniors, because it was in an advisory / homeroom, it was more on their own, but you know, like we had, so myself and our curriculum coordinator had to keep getting on kids' cases, like, hey, haven't finished this yet. We didn't see you turn this in yet. Please get it done. This could happen if you don't do this by this time. And so, yeah. Okay, so I think that's it. I don't know if there's any more questions.
Thanks, Dawn. So helpful. And I just love how you connected YouScience with everything. PTP, teacher engagement. You're talking about freshman career fair, preparing those students for all of that, which is kind of just what we want to do. So thank you. Please continue to ask if it comes to your mind, a question comes up, include it in the chat box. And Dawn did provide her email. Dawn, do you mind providing it one more time in the chat box? Your DOE email, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that right now.
Thank you. All right. Thanks so much, Dawn. So we're going to continue with Shara. Hi, Shara. Do you mind introducing yourself?
No problem.
Hi,
everyone. My name is Shara. I know a few of you on this call. I'm a counselor at Wyoming High School. Prior to this, I was a counselor in middle school for 13 years. And so I'm just entering high school again. And we found that the biggest thing, especially with this new era that we're in, is getting our families engaged. And just so happened prior to COVID, we were able to attend a bunch of family engagement workshops. So my presentation today is on family engagement and various resources that you guys can access. Hopefully you find it useful. As for me and Vince, we attended this workshop and we found it extremely helpful because we thought we were very transparent at Wyoming High School, and we found many loopholes where we weren't as engaging as we thought we were. So just clearing up some of the things that we can do to engage our families, get them involved, and improve student achievement. So I'm gonna share my screen. And like Dawn, I'm super nervous today. Normally I'm not. Okay, so can everyone see my screen? We're gonna be, okay, thanks. We're gonna be using Pear Deck. We've been using it with our students, and it's a good practice for us. And so if you can please join pd.com and enter in the code. Sorry guys, I just covered it up. All right, so let me make this smaller so that I can. Okay, everyone, so today's presentation is on Ohana engagement. If you can take just a minute to answer this question, what does Ohana engagement mean to you? Sorry guys, I don't know why this is here. Lance, I'm gonna ask you a question. Were you guys able to write in the box?
No, we were just able to choose options.
Sorry guys. See, we're gonna get this down.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we're gonna move on to this one then. I don't know why that appeared, but we're just gonna move on to this screen. So today's learner outcomes, we're gonna explore family engagement strategies. We're gonna understand the link between family engagement and student achievement. We're gonna learn how to use data to increase family engagement. We're gonna identify best practices for engagement, as well as examine how your own cultural values and beliefs shape your relationships with students and families. So these are some of the things that we're going to be covering today. So what is Ohana engagement?
Hey Shara, sorry, do you mind putting the code in? I think it's LZEFK. It's on the right corner of the screen, everyone. Sorry, I think there was, yeah, some people are having a hard time logging in. And I'll just put it in the chat box just in case.
Perfect.
LZEFK. Thanks, guys.
Okay. So what is Ohana engagement? Any way that a child's adult caretaker effectively supports learning and healthy development at home, at school, and in the community. It is a full, equal, and equitable partnership among families, educators, and community partners. So today's presentation is really just working together as a team with our families to figure out how to best help our students. So how did we start this journey? How did Wyoming High School begin this journey? As you can see here, there's a list of partners. The Dewey Public Schools, UH Manoa Center on Disabilities, Kamehameha Schools, and Scholastic. And so what they did is they, as you can see at the bottom, they brought us all together. Ele'ele Elementary, Waimea Canyon, Waimea High School, Kapa'a Elementary, Kapa'a Middle School, and Kapa'a High School. So it's all organized by complex. And what they did is they provided a training to support us in building our family engagement strategies. We attended 3 family engagement workshops. Who was part of our team? Admin, counselors, PCNC, attendance clerk, and our migrant ed teacher. And we feel like we hit the jackpot. So if you click on this link right here, it'll take you straight to the resources. So I created a folder with all of the resources based on the different workshops that we attended. So we attended 3 workshops starting in November and ending in February. So you can take a look at that while I'm going through the presentation. And in each of the workshops, really what we did is we just covered strategies. At the beginning, we had to figure out our beliefs. Where did we stand in regards to our families? How did we feel about their responsibility and ours? And then we had to come to some type of common ground. So as you can see here, these are the 3 workshops. The agendas are all in the Jackpot resources. And so what I'm gonna do is, instead of going through everything, because it is a lot, it was 3 workshops, I am gonna highlight a few things. And these are the things that stood out to me. So the first thing they had us do is a belief survey with our 4 responses: strongly agree, agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. At which point we all answered this. We had about 5 minutes to answer each of the 4 questions. And then we broke out. They went over each question and we had to stand in 4 corners. So the activity 4 corners, we had to stand in each of the corners based on the responses that was on our survey. So to make it more anonymous, what they did is they had us switch. So they put all of the surveys together and we just pulled a survey and we stood in the corner based on our answer, but it wasn't ours. And so what this did is it developed our cultural values and beliefs. It shaped our relationships with students and families. As a group, we saw where everyone stood, but for me, taking this survey, it helped me understand my beliefs in regards to how I work with my families. So one of the questions they asked is, all families have dreams for their children and want the best for them. All families have the capacity to support their children's learning. Families in school or program staff should be equal partners. And the responsibility for building and sustaining partnerships between school, home, and community rests primarily with school program staff, especially school or program leaders. And so this activity, if you go back to your Jackpot resources, is in the first tab. I listed this activity. It's called Core Beliefs. There's the instructions at the top with the surveys on the bottom. You can print it, and then you can use it if you'd like to. So first thing we did is, we were asked to answer this question. What is the difference between involved and engaged? So I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. I'm gonna start my timer. And what you're answering is, what is the difference between involved and engaged? They asked this. This is a question we were asked in the first workshop. So we have about 1 minute and 30 seconds. We have about 30 more seconds left. All right, that's the end. I'm gonna go over some of our responses. So at the top, we have engaged seems deeper somehow than involved. Like if you're involved, you're there and interested in listening or participating. But if you're engaged, you listen and participate with a level of commitment. Involved is just being in the situation. Engaged is being more invested. Involved is awareness, but I see engaged as actual participation. Involved means present. Engaged means active. So I see a lot of that. Involved being present, but engaged actually participating and being active. Working with your child to extend what is being taught. Engage suggests a common goal. Nice job, guys. Active participation. All right. So you guys didn't even have to attend the workshop. You guys got it. Being engaged is actually participating. So having our families participate, not just in the classroom, but in our family events, participating in their child's learning is the gist of what we got in that workshop, in the first workshop. Okay, very good. We also attended a webinar. And so one of the highlights in that webinar, which is under the first tab as well in your resources, is making data matter in family engagement. So we learned a lot about using the data from our school reports to dictate how we plan our programs. I know this is very familiar for all of us. So turning to families as advocates can open a wide range of opportunities to carefully develop and evaluate efforts by considering different approaches. So identify different conditions of learning, understand their values. Data-driven conversations with families can help families to guide their actions to support children's learning and enable parent and community leaders to take action with school or improvement strategies. So at the end, at the bottom, identify ways that families can promote student learning and success. So we're finding when we're there, like I said, is how do we communicate with our families? We use School Messenger. Now, when we're using School Messenger, are we just stating the facts? Are we letting them know, if you attend this workshop, here are some of the skills that you'll be receiving. They know what to expect, letting them know what supplies they'll be needing, all of that stuff. Just making sure that we're looking at our data, right? Seeing how our families feel about the school experience and then applying it. That was another highlight from workshop 1. Moving into workshop 2, I think you guys are gonna like this one, best practices for family engagement. So if you click here, it'll take you straight to the best practices for for family engagement. And I'm just gonna go over it. So this is in the second tab. I'm actually gonna scoot down all the way to the bottom because we're just gonna go over some best practices. That was really our takeaways at Wyman High School, and re-looking at how we're communicating with our families. Is our billboard relaying accurate information? What does our webpage look like? Is it easily accessible by our families? Is it easy for them to navigate through? These are questions that came up as we went through our best practices. And so I'm just gonna go through them really, really quickly. So when planning to engage with families, I'm just gonna go over the bullets and summarize it. So whenever possible, provide childcare if possible. Food always works. Broaden our family invitations to include extended family if possible. What we found with our invitations through School Messenger is we needed to be very specific. And so we would send out flyers and we would do save the dates. And then we would have the workshop and we'd actually record it. And then right after the workshop, we'd email the recording to our families or the PowerPoint so that they would have access to it. Use a variety of methods, oral, written, and virtual, to connect with our families. And I'll give you an example later. Ensure all staff at the school are aware of the upcoming events, so everyone's on the same page. Publicize events on social media. Utilize incentives. says think like a marketing executive. You can see there's just a list. This is the last page. There's a list of just best tips to engage in our families. I know right now it's a little bit harder because everything is virtual, and the hardest thing is to get them to respond to their emails or to even check their emails. And so maybe hopefully through some of these strategies, we can increase that and get them to be more involved. Offer meetings on various days and times, assign a family rep to each classroom, develop a phone chain to recruit and market the event. We used our PCNC and our migrant ed teacher to do this for us. Develop classroom or grade level incentives, have students write or draw the invitations, hold meetings in a community, engage families to recruit a new family to an event, and maybe choose a consistent color for sending home flyers regarding upcoming family events, keeping it consistent so they can associate it with one color. So when we attended this meeting, we're like, whoa, wow, this is a lot. But it made sense to us, and it took us from, and we're still working on it, it took us from January all the way to, actually November all the way till present, to actually work on this process and actually just finalizing it. Okay, we're gonna go back to the presentation. Another highlight is dual capacity building. So this is in the third tab of the resources jackpot. Eventually what they wanted us to get out of this is that this idea right here, the 5 circles, I doing it, we do it, families do it in pairs, families do it without assistance, and then families consistently do it at home. So teaching them to be able to do it on their own. We do it together, and then eventually them being able to do it on their own so they can help their child at home. I have a few more highlights. Another highlight, team, together everyone achieves more. So we were told that engaged families can tell you, what should my child know and be able to do by the end of the year? What does my child know? And what am I doing at home to help my child learn these 3 things? So effective partnerships that support student and school improvement. So this is working with our families. Like I said, this is in our third workshop, working with our families, that if they're engaged, they're able to tell us what their child should know. So all of this information, like I said, and I'll go back to the jackpot and click in it so that you guys can see it. All of this information, who can I contact for more information? If you need more information regarding family engagement and the process that we went through here on Kauai, you can contact Angela Mason. She works for the University of Hawaii. This is her contact information. But I'm actually gonna go back to that slide with all of the resources and just click in it so that you can take a look at it. You know that it's there. Everything that we went through in the workshops are present in that slide. So let me go back to that. I think I have it up here. Okay, so this is what I provided for you. So the workshop number 1, I'm just gonna click on it so that you guys can take a look at this. Like I said, there's the agenda, there's a PowerPoint presentation here for understanding family engagement, as well as using data to increase family engagement. And this is the activity, core beliefs, which I went over earlier. In workshop number 2, building family school relationships, everything that they cover, the PowerPoint is right here under best practices, and then the agenda with the information. And then last but not least, workshop number 3 was on, building dual capacity. What does that look like? Like I said, the presentation is here, and then the documents that you need for the presentation are here in case you'd like to use it. One of the last things they gave us as we're heading into this era, like I said, is some resources. So the Kauai COVID-19 resources is something that they gave to us that we could share with our families, just information on everything and anything that they would need assistance with, and kind of being that hub for them. Okay, so that's all in Sorry. So everything is here in the folder that you guys have access to, and it's on, I believe, the 4th slide. And like I said, if you have any more questions regarding family engagement and what that looks like, if you'd like to have a workshop or you need just more information regarding these workshops, you can contact Angela. Let me check the chat if I have. And then last but not least, we're just going to end with something interesting you learned today and how you can use the information from today's workshop in your line of work. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to finish that, and then I'll answer any questions that you might have. All right, guys, so that's the end of the 2 minutes. I appreciate you being patient with me with Pear Deck. I love your responses. At Wyoming High School, we found, and Vince can chime into this, we found that through this workshop, we were able to be more intentional, more clear, in working with our families and helping understand their needs and the things that are important to them, and being able to integrate that into our programs. So if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to contact me or Vince at the Menehune Counseling. This is our email address. Let me check the chat. I don't know how to. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Lindsay, I don't know how to check the chat.
Oh, no worries.
My box is way too small.
I know it's hard if you
What's
don't have a
going on?
double screen. I totally hear you. And I also lose track of my menu bar. But one question came in just to clarify the Kauai COVID handout. Who was that provided by?
That was provided by Family Engagement, UH Family Engagement.
Okay, so Angela Matian. Okay. So funny story. Many of you guys probably recognize that name. Angela used to work in our office. So please feel free to outreach to her. I know she's doing a lot of outreach to other schools to get family engagement strategies more in the schools. So yes, I'm glad you had that opportunity, Shara. I'm actually very excited to look at all of your resources. So thanks so much for sharing that out to all of us.
You're welcome.
If you guys have any other questions, feel free to shoot Shara an email. She's doing great work with Vince during the summer, like I mentioned earlier. She is one of our summer advisors or summer counselors, actually, specifically for Waimea High School. So doing very similar work that many of you guys are doing. So please, yeah, feel free to reach to her. And thanks so much, Shara. And thanks so much for Dawn. It was so wonderful to have you ladies today share out just all of your great work. I know we're going to be navigating some new trends and new approaches, but we have such a great group here. So I'm actually excited to kind of pick your guys' brains before you guys return back to school to see how we can actually approach some of these strategies. But thank you guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And again, feel free to ask any other questions through email. I'll be posting the recording hopefully by the end of this week. So if you guys need to go back to it, feel free to. I also put the agenda, I'm sorry I didn't send that out, in the actual calendar invite. So if you look in the notes, the agenda is linked right there if you guys need to look back at the presentations. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.